remember the sound the check made as it slid across the granite counter at the bank, almost weightless for something that had taken 10 years of my life to earn. "Congratulations, Miss Brennan." The teller smiled. "That's the last of it." I didn't say anything at first. I just stood there, holding the receipt like it was fragile glass. After a decade of doubling shifts, living in a shoebox apartment, and quietly wiring thousands to my parents every month, the mortgage was finally gone. The house was ours. No, the house was mine. Or at least that's what I believed. Growing up, I'd always been the reliable one. No wild parties, no sudden disappearances. I stayed close to home while my younger brother Liam spiraled through rehab, loans, and a divorce by 27. And my older sister Dana? She had a way of showing up only when there were gifts to receive. But I didn't mind. Not back then. I worked. I saved. I sacrificed. And when Mom and Dad nearly lost the house to foreclosure, I stepped in without hesitation. "We'll sign it over to you once it's paid," my dad had said in that low, embarrassed tone. "This is your future, honey. We'll put it in writing." They never did. I never asked, because some part of me still believed in loyalty, family, honor. And now, with the final payment done, I drove straight to the house, the modest blue 2-story, on Willow Ridge Lane with the cracked porch swing and the smell of cinnamon from Mom's endless baking. It was home. I pulled into the driveway, heart light for the first time in years. I even had a gift bag in the passenger seat, a small bottle of champagne and a card that read, "Paid in full, for all of us." The sun was setting golden across the rooftop. I knocked twice, not wanting to barge in even though I'd practically bought every brick. But the door didn't open. Instead, I heard someone inside. Movement. Then silence. I knocked again. The third time, Dad opened it. His face was drawn, tight. He didn't smile. "Hey, Dad. I just came from the bank," I said, holding up the receipt with a small, hopeful laugh. "It's done. No more mortgage. We did it." He didn't look at the paper. "Now's not a good time, Olivia." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "Your sister's here. She brought the kids for the weekend. It's crowded." I peered past him. Dana was on the couch, scrolling through her phone like royalty. One of her boys was playing with the remote. No one looked up. "You're asking me to come back later?" "No," he said quietly, then looked down. "Your mother and I think it's best if you give the family some space. Maybe stay at your place for a bit." "My place?" I repeated, confused. "This is my place." That's when he handed it to me, a manila envelope. No words, just paper. Opened it slowly. Inside was a notice of ownership transfer. The house, it said, had been signed over to Dana, effective yesterday. The same day I made the final payment. I looked up at him, eyes burning. "Why?" "She's got kids," he said. "She needs the space more. You're independent, Olivia. You always land on your feet." Did she even contribute $1 to this house? Don't be dramatic. I stood there, stunned. Behind him, Dana was smirking. She didn't say a word. "I'll be back in the morning," I said, my voice low. He didn't answer, just quietly shut the door. That night, I slept in my car, and the next morning, when I returned, they had changed the locks. I stood in front of the door I had unlocked 1,000 times before, my key now useless in my palm. The lock had been changed, confirmed with a cold click when I tried it. No warning, no phone call, no decency. Just a quiet exile. The champagne bottle I'd bought was still in the trunk, warm now. I stared at the door for a long time before turning back to my car. Not even a text from my parents. Nothing from Dana. I drove to a nearby gas station, sat in the parking lot, and pulled out my folder, the one with every transfer, every wire, every check I'd ever sent. 10 years. Over $187,000, every penny of the mortgage, split between 6 banks, refinances, late fees, and desperation. I had saved the house. They had handed it to someone else. A cruel part of me wondered if that had been the plan all along. I took the day off work. I wasn't in the right mind to supervise a contract negotiation when all I wanted to do was scream. But I didn't scream. I scanned. I copied. I archived. Then I emailed my lawyer, Carla Singh, efficient, unapologetic, the kind of woman who wore steel-tipped heels and made real estate brokers cry in lobbies. Her reply was instant. Carla Singh, they transferred ownership without disclosure? Do you have the full transaction records? I sent her everything. Even the text my dad had sent in 2019. Once it's paid off, the house is yours. Promise. She called 5 minutes later. They're screwed, she said flatly. You're not on the deed, but we have texts, transfers, intent. This screams constructive trust and fraudulent conveyance. We'll hit them civilly, quietly first. If they want to fight, we go scorched earth. I closed my eyes. I don't want a war. You'll win it either way. But first, you need to decide. Do you want the house back, or something more? 3 days passed. Silence from my parents. No apology. No explanation. On Friday, I got a text from Dana. Dana, please stop making this awkward. You don't even like this house. And you said yourself you wanted to travel more. So just move on. Move on? I scrolled up, found the old picture of me sanding the porch railing alone in the snow. The one where she commented, "Lol, why though?" I screenshot the entire thread, forwarded it to Carla. By Monday, Dana and my parents were served, not by mail, not by courier. Carla had them hand-delivered at the house. That night, I got a call from my mom. Her voice was tight with false concern. "Olivia, we just got some documents." "What is this? Legal nonsense? You're suing your family now?" "You gave away what I paid for." "Sweetheart," she said, her voice trembling with forced kindness. "Dana needed a place to raise her children. You're not even here half the time. We just thought—" "No, you didn't," I cut her off. "You didn't think at all. You just assumed I'd keep giving." "We're family," she said again. "So why did you change the locks?" Click. The next hearing was 3 weeks away. In the meantime, I booked a hotel. I showed up to work, every day dressed in power suits and wore red lipstick that made people nervous. And at night, I kept building. A quiet case file, photos, dates, evidence. Dana posted a picture of her new kitchen makeover on Instagram. I printed it. Mom shared a memory captioned, "So proud of Dana for being such a strong homeowner." I saved it. They had no idea what was coming. And the best part? They thought this was just about a house. It wasn't. It was about 10 years of being the family's silent backbone, and finally letting it snap. The courtroom wasn't glamorous like in movies. It smelled faintly of toner and worn carpet. Pale walls, cold lighting, a ticking clock that sounded louder than it should have. I sat at the petitioner's table, dressed in navy, my expression calm, controlled. Next to me was Carla, flipping casually through our binder. Our binder, thick with 10 years' worth of bank statements, screenshots, texts, and even copies of home repair invoices with my name on every receipt. Across from us sat Dana, all in white like she was attending a baptism instead of a lawsuit. Her lawyer, a man with a shiny forehead and an ill-fitting suit, whispered nervously in her ear. Her mouth twisted in a practiced pout. My mother sat behind them, arms crossed, lips pressed tight. My father didn't come. The bailiff called the session to order. Case 22C-4901, Brennan versus Brennan, property dispute over 311 Willow Ridge Lane. The judge glanced at both tables. Carla stood with her usual chill. Your Honor, my client Olivia Brennan has provided direct financial contributions exceeding $187,000 toward the mortgage and improvement of the residence in question. She was led to believe, by written and verbal assurances from the current title holders, that the property would be transferred to her upon full payment. The judge nodded. And you have proof of these assurances? Carla opened the binder with a satisfying thud. Pages 4 through 19, Your Honor. He flipped, paused, read. His eyes narrowed. Dana's lawyer stood, stammered. Your Honor, Ms. Dana Brennan is the legal owner of the property. The title was signed and filed properly. There's no written contract with the petitioner, no deed, no agreement filed with the county. The judge tilted his head. And yet the petitioner made every payment? She's family, Dana's lawyer said weakly. Families help each other. That was when Carla smiled. Indeed, Your Honor. But this wasn't help. This was a transaction, a financial obligation tied to explicit promises. A constructive trust is formed when one party is unjustly enriched at the expense of another. That is precisely what happened here. Dana leaned toward her lawyer, whispering frantically. She wasn't smirking anymore. After the hearing, Dana caught me in the hallway. Her voice dropped from sugar to vinegar in seconds. You think a judge is going to hand you the house just because you played bank? Newsflash, Olivia. Ownership isn't about effort. It's about paperwork. And you never had your name on a single thing. I looked at her. Really looked. Her heels were expensive. Her purse was designer. And her foundation was cracking from the stress. You're right, I said coolly. It's not about effort. It's about intent. And the paper trail shows yours. She blinked. What are you talking about? You applied for a renovation grant last year using a forged copy of my receipts, claimed the upgrades as your own. You forgot I still had the originals. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. Carla's already subpoenaed the bank. I walked away before she could respond. That night, I drove past the house. The porch light was on. There were kids' bikes scattered on the front lawn. Through the window, I saw my mother folding laundry, her face drawn, aged. For a moment, I felt the weight of it all. The memories, the birthdays, the late nights fixing plumbing with my dad. The warmth that house once held before it became a stage for betrayal. But I didn't feel regret. I felt clarity. This wasn't about forcing them to love me the way I loved them. It wasn't about reclaiming some idyllic idea of home. This was about respect. and I was done asking for it. The court documents were public record. I hadn't planned to use them like this, not at first. But when I saw the family photo Dana posted, her sitting on the porch steps of the house I bought, captioned, "Grateful for all the blessings we earn," something inside me snapped. She hadn't earned anything, and if she wanted to parade herself online like the poster child of hard work and motherhood, then so be it. I'd tell my side. 2. I wrote a post. Short, clean, brutal. 10 years, $187,000. Every mortgage payment, every repair, every bill. I made the final payment last month. The next morning, they changed the locks. I didn't name names, but I didn't have to. The comments exploded in hours. Friends I hadn't heard from in years DM'd me in shock. Even some of Dana's old classmates shared it with angry reactions, some saying, "That sounds like the Brennans all right." By morning, I woke to 32,000 likes. I didn't tag her, but people found her anyway. Dana called me by noon. "Are you out of your mind?" I only told the truth. "You're making me look like a villain. I didn't make you do anything. You did that yourself. I just stopped hiding it." She went silent, then quieter. "Mom hasn't stopped crying since yesterday." "Funny," I said. "Neither did I. The night I slept in my car while you tucked your kids into beds I paid for." Click. Carla called that evening. "You're stirring up quite the storm." "I didn't name them." "You didn't have to, but good. The more public pressure, the more likely they'll settle fast. They don't want this dragged into discovery or depositions." "What's next?" "We push. They'll offer money soon." "Not the house, probably. Not unless the judge forces their hand. But if we play it right, they'll pay for what they took. And then some." I hesitated. "What if I want the house?" She paused. "Then we go for the jugular." A week later, Dinah's lawyer made a call. A settlement, $210,000 to drop the case. Confidentiality agreement. Walk away. Carla relayed it to me like it was a menu option. "They're scared," she said. "They know we'll win in court, but they want to make it go away now, before subpoenas go out." I stared at the offer. It was more than what I'd spent. On paper, it was a win. But my gut churned. If I took the money, I'd never set foot in that house again. Dana would keep living there. My parents would go on pretending nothing happened. The locks would stay changed. I didn't just want reimbursement. Wanted accountability. I wanted truth to have a price, and I wanted them to pay it. I shook my head. "Tell them I'm not taking the money." "You're sure?" Carla asked, eyebrow raised. "I want the house," I said. "Every room, a floorboard, every nail I paid for." Carla smiled slowly. "Then let's make them sorry they ever crossed you. They say discovery is when the gloves come off." I didn't realize how true that was, until I saw the file Carla handed me. It was an email thread between Dana and my mother, dated a month before the final mortgage payment, from Dana. "Once she finishes paying it off, we file the transfer right after. She won't fight. She never does." From Mom, "Let's just not tell her until it's done. It's better this way." I stared at the page, my chest hollowing. They hadn't just taken the house. They'd planned it. While I was still sending in payments, scrubbing mold from the basement, wiring emergency money when the water heater blew. Dana never saw me as her sister. She saw me as her investment. And now, her intentions were preserved in black and white. We submitted the emails to the court, along with the grant application Dana filed in 2021 for a homeowner improvement subsidy, which included forged receipts with my signature, whiteout barely masking my name. Then came the photo evidence. Me installing shelves in the kitchen, sanding door frames, painting walls. Dated, tagged. Proof of sweat equity they pretended was theirs. Carla was relentless. I want every utility. Bill with her name on it, she told Dana's lawyer in a recorded call. Oh wait, there are none? Shocking. The lawyer fumbled. This is getting excessive. No, Carla replied, her voice pure ice. This is discovery. If you're afraid of what we'll find, that says everything. The next court date arrived like thunder. This time, Dana didn't wear white. She wore black, like she was going to a funeral. My mother was by her side, jaw set. My father had finally shown up, face pale but silent. When the judge entered, he went straight to the point. I've reviewed the additional documents submitted by the petitioner's counsel. I see evidence of coordinated concealment, misleading intent, and what appears to be fraudulent misrepresentation regarding property use and funds. Dana's lawyer stood, panicked. Your Honor, this is a family matter. The judge raised a hand. No, this is a legal matter. And Ms. Brennan, he looked directly at me, has demonstrated consistent and documentable ownership through contribution. Based on the material, this court is prepared to recognize her equitable interest. In the home, I held my breath. We will schedule a final ruling in the coming weeks. However, I am inclined to advise both parties to seek resolution outside court. Because if I rule, and I likely will, it won't be on your terms, Ms. Dana Brennan. Once Dana didn't say a word. She just stared at the floor. Outside the courtroom, I passed them in the hall. My mother looked at me. A look I couldn't name. Shame, maybe. Regret. But I didn't stop. I didn't need closure. I needed ownership. This wasn't about being loved anymore. It was about not being used again. It came in a thick envelope, delivered by courier, not certified mail, not an email. A courier. Inside was a new proposal. Dana and her attorney were offering a buyout. $325,000. Nearly double what I'd spent over the years. They even included a notarized draft contract, ready for me to sign. A sticky note was attached in my mother's handwriting. Let's move on. It's just a house. Just a house? I stared at the page, numb. Every line of the contract was polite, professional, and soaked in desperation. They wanted me out, wanted me to disappear, take the money, vanish like I always had. But the thing is, I wasn't that girl anymore. Not the one who wired money without question. Not the daughter who smiled while being stepped over. This wasn't just a house. It was 10 years of sacrifice. 10 years of silence. 10 years of being invisible. Until the moment I said, enough. I handed the papers to Carla. They think, I'll sell, I said. Carla's lips curled into a razor-edged smile. Then let's show them you won't. 3 days later, Carla called Dana's attorney. I sat across from her, arms folded, watching her like a hawk. Thank you for your client's generous offer, she said smoothly. But Ms. Brennan declines. We are moving forward with the full claim to title and ownership, and we're prepared for trial. She paused. Also, my client has recently submitted a formal complaint to the County Housing Commission regarding fraudulent grant activity and forged invoices. We expect a response within the month. On the other end, Dana's lawyer stammered. We couldn't hear Dana herself, but I could imagine the panic rising behind that silence. After the call, Carla leaned back, satisfied. You realize, she said, that if the grant office opens an investigation and finds fraud, Dana's not just going to lose the house. She could face charges. I didn't flinch. I know. Later that night, I received a text. Not from Dana. From Liam. My brother. Liam. Heard what's going on. Sorry. I was never around, but I know what they did isn't right. For what it's worth, I'm on your side. Just wanted you to know. I stared at the screen, stunned. I hadn't expected that. Thanks, Liam. That means something. Really. Liam, if you need a witness statement about who paid for what, I'll give it. For the first time in weeks, I felt a crack of warmth push through the cold. I wasn't entirely alone. I woke up to find my inbox flooded again. This time, it wasn't just reactions to my original post. It was others. People with high-paid stories like mine. Sisters cut out. Sons disinherited. Daughters erased. And one message in particular caught my eye. Your story helped me walk away from a family who only called me when they needed something. Thank you for showing me that boundaries aren't betrayal. That line stuck with me all day. Boundaries aren't betrayal. No. Betrayal is what they did when they locked the door and changed the locks without warning. Boundaries were what I was building now. Out of stone. Out of truth. Out of every document they never thought I'd keep. The courtroom was half full when I arrived, but somehow it felt like the world was watching. Not just the judge. Not just Dana and her lawyer, fidgeting and red-eyed. But everyone who had followed this story online. Everyone who had once dismissed me. Everyone who ever thought the quiet one wouldn't speak up. Today wasn't the final ruling. Not yet. This was a preliminary hearing to determine whether Dana's grant fraud would become part of the official record in my civil case. Carla was composed as ever, heels sharp on the tile. She carried only a folder and a flash drive. No theatrics. No binders. Just proof. Dana, by contrast, looked like she'd aged a decade since last month. Her hair was flat, her blouse wrinkled. Her mother, our mother, wasn't beside her this time. Neither was Dad. That told me everything. The judge, a stern woman with silver hair and half-moon glasses, called things to order. Today we're reviewing supplemental evidence introduced by the petitioner, Ms. Olivia Brennan, regarding potential misuse of government housing funds by the respondent, Ms. Dana Brennan. Carla stood and connected her laptop to the overhead screen. Your Honor, she began, this is a screenshot of Ms. Dana Brennan's 2021 Home Improvement Grant application, filed under the local county homeowner assistance program. She clicked once. The screen displayed a form. Under primary owner, Dana Brennan. Under contributors, self-funded repairs. See attached. Another click. Carla displayed scanned receipts, plumbing upgrades, floor refinishing, insulation work. All with dates, all with handwritten notes and signatures. Then, click. Carla zoomed in on the signature line. My name, not Dana's. The original invoices, Carla said, lifting physical copies for the judge, have my client's signature. The documents submitted to the grant office have altered names and modified amounts. The judge squinted at the screen. Ms. Brennan, she said to Dana, did you personally pay for these repairs? Dana's voice cracked. I helped. My mom, that's not what I asked. Her lawyer whispered something, but the damage was done. The judge turned to Carla. Has the county responded to your formal complaint? Yes, Your Honor, Carla said smoothly. They've opened an audit. The matter is now pending investigation, and we have provided all relevant material to both their office and yours. A pause. Furthermore, she added, we request that this fraudulent activity be considered material in the court's decision regarding the equitable ownership claim. The judge nodded slowly. Request granted. Dana visibly sagged. After the hearing, I passed Dana in the corridor. Her face was pale, lips pressed into a tight, trembling line. You're ruining everything, she hissed under her breath. No, I replied calmly. You did that when you cashed in on my silence. Her eyes flared. Mom says you're being vindictive, that you're humiliating the family. I tilted my head. Funny, they weren't humiliated when they locked me out of my own house. Dana swallowed. Her voice lowered. If you keep going, I could lose everything. The kids. I stepped closer. You should have thought about the kids before you taught them that stealing from family is acceptable. I left her there, standing under the harsh fluorescent light of the courthouse hallway, mascara smudging down her cheek. Not from tears, but from shame she was no longer able to escape. That night, Carla called me. They're crumbling. Her lawyer asked for mediation again, but this time, they're not offering money. They're offering the deed. My breath caught. They're surrendering the house? Conditionally, Carla replied. They want to remain in it. For 90 days, then they vacate. You get everything in writing. I didn't answer right away. Not because I doubted, but because I finally saw it clearly. The keys, the title, the house I paid for, and the woman I had to become to reclaim it. The agreement was signed in a sterile conference room under the eyes of lawyers and notaries. Dana's hands trembled as she initialed the final page. She didn't look at me. She couldn't. She and her lawyer negotiated one last concession. 90 days. 90 days to find another place. 90 days to pack her things. 90 days to tell the children that the house with the blue shutters and the cinnamon scent didn't belong to them anymore. That it never did. And then she'd be gone. The first 30 days were quiet. I drove, by once just to remind myself it was real. The porch light was still on. The flower boxes still bloomed like they had no idea what had happened inside. I didn't speak to Dana. She didn't try to reach out, but Mom did. She came to my apartment one afternoon without warning, holding a box of old photos. I found these in the attic, she said. Inside were pictures of us, Christmas mornings, birthdays, school plays, me in the background, always helping, always steady, always there. I looked up at her. Why are you showing me this now? She sighed. Because I forgot. We forgot. You were the glue, the one who never asked for anything. And maybe we took advantage of that. I didn't answer. I wasn't ready to forgive. But I took the box, not because I wanted the memories, but because I'd earned them too. At 60 days, Dana listed her car for sale online. At 75, I saw moving boxes on the curb. At 89, Carla called me. They're out. The key's at my office. I left work early. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I just drove, alone, through the familiar neighborhood that once felt like a graveyard of betrayal. When I pulled into the driveway, the house stood empty. Quiet. Clean. I unlocked the front door with a new key. One they could never take back. Inside, The air smelled like dust and lemon cleaner. The walls echoed. The light fell gently across the kitchen counter, the same counter where I once signed checks with blistered fingers after 12-hour shifts. I stepped into the living room. Bare. Still. Mine. There was a note on the kitchen island. Handwritten. Olivia. I know I can't fix what I did. I know you'll never see me the same way again. But I hope someday the kids will grow up and understand. Maybe then they'll know what real strength looks like. You earned this. All of it. Dana. I folded the note without expression and tucked it in the drawer by the sink. Then I walked through every room. Slowly. Intentionally, I ran my fingers along the door frames I had sanded, the cabinet knobs I had installed, the windows I had cleaned when no one was watching. It wasn't just a house anymore. It was a testament to the years no one saw, to the quiet loyalty that was mistaken for weakness, to the voice I finally learned to use. And when I reached the master bedroom, I opened the window, let in the breeze, and whispered to the walls, "I'm home."